Hi everyone. Recently, former President Trump was gifted an airplane worth over 400 million USD. Many are now asking, does this count as corruption? Let's dig into it. As you might know, President Trump recently made a visit to several countries in the Middle East. That in itself was quite unusual. Why? Because according to US tradition, newly elected presidents typically make their first foreign visit to friendly neighbors, like Canada or Mexico. But Trump broke that tradition entirely. Instead of visiting Canada, he went as far as suggesting that Canada should become the 51st state of the US. Then, he imposed tariffs so steep that it nearly wrecked Canada's economy. The two countries, once close allies, became trade rivals. Mexico didn't fare much better. And with that, the long-standing diplomatic tradition was effectively ended. Instead, Trump chose to visit Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. Why? Simple. Oil. Coming from a business background where material value is paramount, his decision to visit oil-rich nations wasn't surprising. But what shocked the world was when Trump claimed his visit brought in deals worth trillions of dollars. For instance, Qatar alone reportedly signed investment agreements worth over $200 billion with the US, with plans to increase to $1.2 trillion later. That's nearly 500 times Trump's net worth, and he's already extremely wealthy. So compared to that, his fortune looked tiny. Now here comes the interesting part. During that trip, Qatar offered Trump a Boeing airplane worth $400 million. The big question is Trump allowed to accept such a gift? And if so, what must he do with it? Let's start with Trump's own response. Unsurprisingly, he accepted it. A reporter barely began asking President Trump regarding the airplane Qatar gave you, when Trump immediately cut her off and lashed out live, in front of hundreds of journalists and millions of viewers. His message was essentially, it would be stupid not to accept such an economic benefit. Many cheered him on, saying if he secured contracts worth trillions, a $400 million commission was more than fair. Trump deserved the plane. But is it legal under US law? First, the US Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, known as the Emoluments Clause, clearly states, no person holding any office of profit or trust shall accept any present, emolument, office, or title from any king, prince, or foreign state without the consent of Congress. Second, the U.S. Foreign Gifts and Decorations Act of 1966 states that any U.S. government official, including the president, may only keep a foreign gift if its value falls below a certain threshold. That threshold was once 180 and is now around 480. That's not even enough to cover Trump's lunch. If a gift exceeds that value, it must either be handed over to the U.S. General Services Administration, GSA, or the recipient must buy it back at fair market value. For example, if you gave Trump a cake worth $1 billion, he would have to pay $1 billion to keep and eat it. So, legally, if Trump wants to keep the plane, he must first go to Congress and say something like, Dear Congress, Qatar gave me a plane. I accepted it. Do you approve? If Congress agrees, the plane would then become government property, likely managed and used by the Department of Defense. If they reject it, the plane would be handed over to the State Department, which would usually return the gift. Case in point, President Andrew Jackson was once given a gold medal, but Congress didn't approve it, so the State Department had to return it. Even if Congress does allow it, and the plane replaces the aging Air Force One, it's not that simple. The president can't just hop on any plane. Air Force One has to be outfitted with the most secure communication systems in the world, ensuring an unbreakable link to the Pentagon, even in flight. In a national emergency, the president must still be able to issue orders from the sky. To meet those standards, the donated plane would require massive upgrades, modifications, and high-tech systems. According to Treasury Department estimates, a fully customized presidential jet could cost up to $2 billion, with the aircraft body itself accounting for just $250 million. The rest is in security and communication systems. In other words, accepting a $400 million plane could end up costing $2 billion to retrofit more than building a new one from scratch. And the US is already building 2 new Air Force One jets, making a third unnecessary. Let's say Trump completes his term and wants to place the plane in his presidential library, a place to honor his legacy and achievements. That's unprecedented. Past presidents, like Reagan, only placed decommissioned US-made aircraft in their libraries, never a foreign gift. So even though this gift is still just a proposal, it sparked fierce debate. Supporters argue that rejecting a gift worth over $400 million is foolish. Opponents, mostly Democrats, worry that accepting such a gift might sway US foreign policy in Qatar's favor. Trump had attended elementary school. He might have learned the saying, "You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours." It means accepting gifts can compromise your independence. Critics fear that if Trump becomes overly friendly with Qatar, it could skew America's diplomatic priorities. Some even suspect that Trump could let the Department of Defense use the plane temporarily then, after leaving office, have his own company manage the presidential library, and move the plane there as if it were private property? Who knows? In summary, Trump must first get Congress's approval to accept the plane. If approved, who pays to upgrade it to Air Force One standards? Once he leaves office, how will the plane be managed? Could it become his personal asset? What do you think about all this?